But that does take me to another question, especially because I just mentioned two huge brands, right? Netflix and Disney Plus. Like level access, sorry, caters to, let's say, enterprise. It's operates on an enterprise level. When we're dealing with this kind of companies, huge companies, are they actually devoting themselves to accessibility, to inclusion, or are just they scraping the surface and doing the bare minimum?
Um, I think it's different for every company,
Right.
and there's not a single answer. There are companies that we work with that are really committed to accessibility. They
Okay.
have accessibility centers of excellence. They have accessibility embedded throughout all aspects of their organization. Um, the operating model of accessibility is really the foundation of when you can tell if a company is
Hmm.
truly committed to accessibility versus, I don't want to say, look, sometimes you got to start somewhere, right? So it's okay.
Right.
If they've called us and they're working with us, they've started.
Hmm.
So I'm always going to applaud that. But there's
Right.
definitely different levels of maturity that we see organizations go through. Sometimes these larger enterprises come to us and they're actually already pretty mature. They have, as I mentioned, the Accessibility Center of Excellence. They have accessibility practices built into their standard operating procedures.
Hmm.
They have accessibility training as part of their standard onboarding. That is that's the North Star, right?
Okay.
But however, not a lot of companies, especially, and I've worked on the brand side as well,
Hmm.
legacy companies that have been around for over 100 years. If a company has been around for a while, you have to assume that they're not going to, they accessibility wasn't developed into their organization structure
Hmm.
from inception. So they are going to have
Right.
to even retrofit the function of accessibility into their business.
Hmm.
And if that's the case, then they often need help. They need advisors to help them through that process. It's definitely an activity in change management,
Hmm.
organizational restructuring, and things like that. But I
Hmm.
will say that every larger enterprise that I have had the experience working
Hmm.
with through Level Access, they're all at different stages of that journey, and some are further along and others are just getting started.
Hmm. Yeah. But basically, what I'm hearing is that as long as they do that first step towards accessibility, there's still hope, right? There's still hope that they're going to achieve. I'm not going to say 100% accessibility because let's be honest, that doesn't
That's
exist.
not a
But
thing.
yeah, that's not a thing exactly. But good enough that helps the most people, and I do tend to agree with that.